Let's now have a look at the rewriting of historical past. History is usually rewritten to create a certain impact in the present, and such a maneuvering of history can be a special topic of interest for researchers in the field of critical discourse analysis, because this maneuvering is largely because of exploitation of certain linguistic resources, uh, which reflect those precious uh, human and historical resources which have been manipulated in order to create certain grand impact for the people who are running certain positions of authority in present times. Nations and national identities as cultural representations or manifestations have a huge importance in the lives of various nations, and they are usually reflected through historical narratives, grand narratives, and in such narratives, uh, uh, the stories about the origin, continuity, tradition, and timelessness of such nations and national images are very important. In order to see such rewriting of the history, Sicurella has proposed a very interesting framework, which is unique in many ways, and it is based on Kolakowski's framework, which was proposed in 1995. It has also borrowed a lot of things from Smith, Hall, and Wodak. In this categorization of historical events, one of the important elements which Sicurella has proposed is about the myths of origin and ancestry. In these myths, we see that how certain myths have been created or refabricated based on certain tales which are associated with the past, and it also focuses on certain event which is related to the foundation of such nation or nationhood. Second element of is teleological dimension, which is based on the belief that there is something common and intrinsic to the making of a certain nation or national belief, and this intrinsic element is based on a clear cut purpose, or is said to be based on a clear cut purpose. Third element is the fantasy of pure, original, and homogeneous people, which believe on the commonality of goals, commonality of regions, and would like to work on making it purer and purer. They do not want the mixing up of other beliefs from other people, and rather they would emphasize on the purity and superiority of their own beliefs and origins. And uh, it serves as an object of collective attachment and intimate devotion between or among each other within a group or national group. The fourth and last element in such categorization may be the myth memories of golden ages, the ages which would reflect on uh, certain great achievements of the people belonging to that certain group or nation. The history and the topos of history have been uh, critical elements in the making and remaking of the history of people, of the past events which can glorify a certain nation, and they legitimate and reproduce national cultures and identities for certain purposes which are more relevant in present times than they were in the past. For example, identity politics form a core of right-wing populist parties across the world, and these right-wing populist parties always take resort to historical events and identity politics to further their agendas, including their socio-economic and political interests. Most right-wing populist parties thus re-image and rewrite their national histories to legitimize their present agendas. They draw on the past to relive allegedly successful victories and previous empires. Many studies in this regard clearly illustrate that right wing parties show a particular interest in history, how certain event happened, how uh, certain people participated in a certain event, they always like debating on such issues which are related to historical events, key historical events, and their public representation. For example, one of a very popular Austrian right-wing leader, Jock Hader, commemorated decent victims of World War II who were actually the Nazi workers of that time, but they were praised as decent victims by this right-wing leader, which may be seen as a rewriting of the past as it has been viewed differently in other accounts of history. Accordingly, history is rewritten to highlight foundation myths of a pure people in homogeneous nation state. So, this is just one way how discourse is manipulated, how it is differentiated from what has already been mentioned by other people to further and to stick to a certain political agenda in the present. And this very element makes it an interesting topic for critical discourse studies.